54 cents. The bright blue banking app illuminated the nominal balance. I dug through my pockets and carry-on to find the necessary 44 cents to buy a large Coke at the LAX McDonald's. The line progressed in a zombie-like shuffle. Each step closer to the counter drove me to search more frantically. I was still fumbling in my pockets, wishing for another quarter to materialize, when it was my turn to order. The employee watched while I struggled to produce a single dollar. I felt the stony impatience of passengers in the line behind me. Some of them took micro steps forward, as if moving closer to me would get their orders in faster. As if my anxiety had set off a beacon, Fear stepped into line behind me, his grip already twisting into my backpack. He didn't like to show himself to everybody, but he had been living in my head for a few months now. Every day, a tighter constriction. Every day forced me to acknowledge him a little bit more. He stepped behind me. He was always a little behind me, a little to the side. Fear spoke softly to me, telling me, "These people are glaring at you, hurry up." Fear told me the people behind me hated my incompetence more with each passing moment. I picked up my hard-won cup, doing my best to avoid the eye contact of people I prevented from getting their midnight meals in a timely manner. I sat at my gate, wondering if anyone saw me. Fear reassured me. "The people at McDonald's are on the flight. They followed you here from the plane. They followed you from Monterey. You aren't safe here. They saw you. You're weak." Fear stood up in my mind, commanding space, spinning violent memories into every wound he reopened. He slid around my head, dipping his toes into my brain matter, enjoying his newfound home. As he established his long-term residency, I listened, almost eager to know what new horrors would await in a new place. What would happen to me? No one would speak to me, acknowledge my pain, but he did. So I listened. I obeyed when he told me to be afraid. I wondered what was going to happen to me here in San Diego, my new home of Subbase Point Loma. What kind of sense of humor a commander had to send a rape victim to an all-male submarine base. I was an expedited transfer, which is the United States Navy's way of giving its enlisted sexual assault victims an anonymous, "Sorry you got raped," do-over. Except the do-over is never anonymous and typically makes things worse. The Navy tends to just fling victims into any open billet, or when given a choice, picks less friendly places to the situation. My old CO, Commander Slattery, relished this. I was transferring from the Defense Language Institute, an A school in Northern California. Slattery wasn't fond of rape victims. Frankly, the bloodier and more extensive of an investigation you had would determine if Slattery was going to be your personal judge, jury, and executioner. I was told by a few people in my leadership that it was the island of the misfit toys, and plenty of girls like me had transferred to Subbase. Wouldn't it be so nice to make new friends? Maybe we could talk about our love of character-based languages and our lost rape kits. Maybe we could talk about when we weren't compared to broken toys that rough children destroyed and forgot. But I realized that's exactly what we were to the Navy. They assumed I wouldn't last in the military, that I would eventually join one of those crazy feminist women's empowerment groups and be chanting with my shirt off outside Capitol Hill within days. My rehabilitation from fragile sexual assault victim back to mission ready was thankfully someone else's problem. When the plane took off, I passively aggressively commandeered the armrest for my seatmate and killed minutes waiting at an unamused chihuahua a few seats up. Nervous thoughts flitted uninvited through my skull, demanding my attention, striking up conversations with Fear. He whispered to me, "The world was full of monsters and you will meet more in San Diego. These things never stay where they happened." The day I met Fear was in Monterey. I was stationed at the Defense Language Institute. I was a Mandarin Chinese student, a linguist. I was called into my commanding officer's personal office, a show of his personal benevolence to those who had been allegedly raped. The office was dusty, poorly lit, and with not enough chairs for everyone present. I sat on my hands, my fingertips alternating between digging at my work pants or the scratchy upholstery of the nicest chair in the room. I sat next to 2 enlisted leaders, my entire triad, and NCIS investigators. 14 overly familiar, overly paternal eyes stared into my shoulder blades, not wanting to meet my eyes. I wasn't allowed to leave. This meeting was for me. "We are here to support you until you give us a reason not to," is how my CO began, crossing his immaculately iron-dressed pants and leaning towards me. "Although I can't say I'm surprised this happened to you, it seems to happen often here. You have accused a man of a very serious crime, so you must understand why your behavior is being scrutinized." I wondered why my advocate was sitting on the other side of the room as me, why the NCIS agent didn't even introduce himself. The air in the room was getting warmer, but my fingertips had gone numb from cold. "You see, Miss Yates," my executive officer cut in. He never respected personal space, always touching my tattoos and grabbing shoulders when I happened down the same hall as him. He called me Miss Yates because I was in the Navy, but not his Navy. We need to know if you can move past this. Taxpayers are paying for your school, your clearance. They paid for his. If you're going to let this affect your performance, you need to tell us now. Don't waste people's money. I was given tissues by my advocate. I hadn't realized I was crying. I tied them in knots in my lap, my head bowed down. I could feel a chill on the back of my neck. One of the agents was standing in front of the office door. Yates. My CO had his hands folded on the desk. He restacked some random papers. This is the military. Everything has a purpose and a place. And if it isn't doing that, bad things will happen. I know women who were raped and bounced back within a week. No therapy required. I know some that let it ruin them. Aren't you all feminists now? Which sailor do you want to be? Is this one thing stronger than you? Did you expect your job to be easy? My chief gripped his coffee cup and wiped his sweaty palms on khaki pants. He slammed it down on the desk in front of him and yelled, Yates, first some of my sailors are showing you too much affection and following you around, and now you say a couple of Marines are? Evaluate yourself and what you do to make these boys so upset. I am sorry for whatever happened to you, but I'm supposed to believe multiple men are just behaving inappropriately around you? When the flight bumpily landed on the San Diego tarmac, my breath hitched. I painstakingly removed myself from the overcrowded plane that reeked of body odor, late-night fast food, grease, and peered around my new surroundings. I stepped past security checkpoints armed with my ripped backpack and a half-empty Coke I fully intended to refill at the first empty and open McDonald's. I willed myself not to look behind me, that no one was looking at me funny, no one was following me. My fingernails dug into my backpack straps in the familiar death grip of repressed panic. Every buzz cut I walked by caused fear so strong it created pain in my stomach. Every accidental bump from a stranger were hands with sharp fingernails, their fingers around my throat, pushing me against the walls. Every pair of dark eyes was my rapist. He's here and he's spouting me already. My head screamed danger, called alternating between stopping and beating too quickly at sudden movements or shadows that slipped around the walls. Fear was humming in my ribcage, laughing as he dug his horns into my chest, pointing me which way to go. He was elated, victorious, a new city can't drive him out that easily. Slattering my supervisors, or the overlords, as I called them, had zero faith in my ability to succeed in any aspect of my life once I left their holy jurisdiction. In their minds, I wasn't tough enough. Some bad things happen, but bad stuff happens to everybody, right? More specifically, bad things happened to bad people. This was all my fault. I was privileged, pretty, a girl, lucky enough to be smart enough to go to a military language school. What was so wrong with me that I would throw that away? If I hadn't reported the physical abuse, the stalking, the fact that my rapist and his two stupid friends followed me to breakfast, to bed, and to class, I would have been okay. If I had just ignored it, they would have left me alone eventually. My rapist wasn't the first man to approach me sexually in my enlistment, and he wasn't the first person to be angry that I refused his advances. The Marine was probably only a few years older than I was. I knew he wasn't old enough to drink yet, but he did love to drink, and he would always invite me out to shotgun beers in some fucking parking lot with him. Unfortunately for me, and for everyone else, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't anywhere, and I wasn't anywhere I wasn't supposed to be. I never did go out with him. I was doing my homework. My CEO wanted so desperately to ignore my reportings, but in the following months, I did try to report. I showed my teachers and language instructors my bruises and the cuts. My command ignored my whining, as my rapist and his friends used to follow me on the buses, telling me to kill myself. If I'm not brave enough to do it, they could do it for me. Hoorah! Because of this, Fear's favorite place was to sit was behind me. The first person I met in San Diego was a man right outside baggage claim. He was probably a college student. He might have even been nice. He had a sparse beard and long hair on top of his head, and he looked like he should have been singing an off-key rendition of Wonderwall around a campfire. I locked my eyes on the ground and turned up the music in my headphones. Naturally, when I did that, he said hello to me. My brain immediately calculated the odds of him being my executor. I thought about who was going to call my mom, my dad, and my sister, and how typical for me it was to survive this long and get taken out at baggage claim. Would the police find my body? Would another man walk away scot-free? He asked where I was traveling from. I answered in monosyllables, convinced he was going to follow me, hurt me. He shifted his weight towards me, and my throat constricted as I put my backpack between us. He asked for my number to show me around San Diego. Somehow, I was 3 seconds into a new city, teetering precariously on the brink of insanity, and already getting that line. When I shook my head in a quick no, he just told me, hey, no worries, welcome to San Diego, have a great night. He had paused to see if I would say anything else. Instead, I flinched, waiting for the follow-up, the spit, the venom, that no one would ever want you anyways. Certain I had made him angry. Even the semblance of possible rejection can make a man do terrible things. Things I had believed were acceptable because they had happened so often. He shuffled away from me, and fear appeared behind my eyes. He was excited. He smelled blood. He whispered, "That man was going to kill you." I stared at the gray flecked tiles beneath my small off-brand tennis shoes as a high-pitched ringing consumed my mind and throat began to close. I heard footsteps near me and panic flooded my brain. Fear laughed as he told me, "That guy's come back for you. You should have been nice, and now you're going to pay. You know what happens next." I spotted my sea bag on the conveyor and ripped it ungraciously off, getting a strap stuck on the metal attachment. Someone reached out to me as I desperately kept pulling at my bag. I wanted my physical strength to bend the metal or make me disappear, whichever was first. Once I unhooked it, I ran, as tears ran down my eyes, into the nearest bathroom. I didn't understand why I couldn't do anything, just anything right. I cried on a toilet seat in an open stall. I hoped someone would come inside and help me, just help me out. I was so angry, so afraid, so confused. I didn't understand why I couldn't order a soda or pick up my checked bag, or why when I failed at both I got so frustrated I wanted to set fire to my worldly possessions and explode. I rubbed my eyes, with each twist forcing more mascara into my eyes, a soft burning that helped me breathe with each sting. I swallowed a scream that had been building in my lungs without my knowledge. I leaned over the sink, mildly dizzy. Air. I needed air. I walked out of the bathroom, dragging my check bag on the floor behind me. Stepping into San Diego, I could smell car exhaust, sea breeze, and burnt coffee. As I stepped into the night, I made eye contact with the girl walking alone, and we both disappeared a little further into our sweaters.